Today we'll be reading from the Bhagavad Gita, but first we should chant a little invocative mantra. It goes like this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So this afternoon we thought that maybe Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, text number 15 could be of interest. Does anybody know this verse by heart? Yes? Let's wait for that one. We chant. So, let's start with chanting some Sanskrit, and then I will read the translation and the purport. The purport is not so long, and after the purport, I will try to speak a little bit about whatever I'm able to speak about. I'll read the Sanskrit then. Sarvasichaham hridi sannivishto matta smrti jnanamapohanam cha vedaischa sarvairahamiva vejo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. Which means, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Srila Prabhupada comments as follows. The Supreme Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from Him that all activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore he begins his work according to his past deeds. Required knowledge is supplied to him, and remembrance is given to him, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus the Lord is not only all-pervading, he is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruitive results. He is worshipable not only as the impersonal Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the localized Paramatma, but as the form of the incarnation of the Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to God, back to home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and Krishna is in his incarnation as Vyasdev. He is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasdev in the Srimad Bhagavat gives the real understanding of the Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that for the deliverance of the conditioned soul, He is the supplier and digester of foodstuff, the witness of His activity, and the giver of knowledge in the form of the Vedas, and as the Supreme Personality of God, Shri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita. He is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus God is all good. God is all merciful. And to the last paragraph, which is a long one. Anta pravishta shashta jananam. The living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body, but he begins his work again, initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets, the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So not only does a living entity enjoy or suffer in this world according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, situated locally within the heart, but he receives the opportunity to understand the Vedas from him. If one is serious about understanding the Vedic knowledge, then Krishna gives the required intelligence. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because the living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. Vedic literature confirms this. Yo Sausarevarivedayagiyate. In all Vedic literature, beginning from the four Vedas, Vedanta, Sutra, and the Upanishads and Puranas, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated. By performance of Vedic rituals, discussion of the Vedic philosophy, and worship of the Lord in devotional service, he is attained. Therefore, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Vedas give us direction by which to understand Krishna and the process of realizing him. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra 114 confirms this in the following words. Tattu samavayat. One can attain perfection in 3 stages. By understanding Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different processes, one can approach him, and at the end, one can attain the supreme goal, who is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. In this verse, the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of the Vedas are clearly defined. So I'll just repeat the verse again. Sarvasichaham hridi sannivishto matta smrati jnanamabhonancha vedaishi sarvairaham eva vedyo vedanta kridveda videvacham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the order of Vedas. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnana Anjana Shalakya Chakshurunitanya Tasmai Shri Guruvema Mukha Guru Prajam Gati Padamam Vande Shri Guru Dinatam Om Vishnuvaraya Krishna Vasthaya Saraswati Gauravam Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Kashti. This is a very important verse in the Bhagavad Gita that tells us that we are completely independent in all our actions. The illusion of the conditioned soul who is coming to the material world he is the independent judge and independent actor, judge of his own activities and performer of his own activities. This is called ahankar, which is in English translated as false ego, thinking that I am the one who is doing things. Ahankar means I do. Ahankar, I do. So this I do is an illusion. Because Prabhupada explains here that, and also in the Bhagavad he explains even more clearly, that it is impossible for the conditioned souls, meaning these 2 eyes, to see anything before the Lord has seen it. So if anything that we see, the first one who ever saw it was Krishna as the super soul in the heart. And any action we perform before we do it, may be it just to drink a glass of water, moving our arms, whatever we do, eating, cleaning, it's all actually cannot be done unless Krishna is actually giving his sanction and in essence doing it for us. The idea that we are doing something and we are responsible and that we are acting is the illusion. Because any action, any thought is conducted and controlled by the super soul, giving us the illusion that we are acting, but we are not. So the statement in all Vedic literatures is that the jiva, the individual conditioned soul, is always in a position of servitorship. That means only the Supreme Soul can be independent and act, and can be said to act independently. And the individual atomic souls, who we are just serving that vast, unlimited soul in whatever action we are doing. Sometimes we are serving Krishna directly, like now we're chanting, serving Krishna, engaging directly in his service, trying to become his pure devotees. But if we say, no, I don't want to do this Krishna service anymore, I want to be independent, then immediately that's the illusion taking over. When I think, I want to be independent, I want to go home to my flat and be on my own and just do my own thing. That is the illusion, because when you do that, it's actually the super soul who is allowing it and doing it for you, making you think that you did it. When we drink a glass of water, that was good. The tasting, the thing going down into the stomach, the lifting of the hand, it's all condoned by the super soul. The immediate actor are of course all different demigods who are acting in all the limbs, but behind all that is the super soul, because he's also present even in the demigods. So even before the demigods can act, the super soul has to give his sanction. So all is actually directed by one soul who is existing localized in every heart. Just like when you watch, if you see look at the sky in India, you will see the sun, and then you look at the sky in Denmark, you will see the sun. It may be looking like different sun. I saw the sun in India and I also saw the sun in Denmark, but they are differently situated, so they must be different suns. No, it's the same sun. It's so far away that it looks like it's this, different sun, because when things are so far away, they follow you. The more because it's so big. So in the same way, the super soul is very big, and he's like you say locally situated in everyone's heart. But it's not different super souls sitting there. It's the same Kshirodaksha Vishnu, just expanding in different expansions, but it's all one. So that individual one super soul is guiding all the individual living entities in their individual capacities according to their individual desires, and engaging them, as Prabhupada says here, according to their previous actions. So this body that we have in this incarnation, be it male, female, animal, plant, whatever, is a karmic reaction to our previous actions in our previous life. So this body that sits here right now, they think, I am Danish, I am Indian. This is one body among so many bodies that we've had among 8.4 million species of life that we are rotating through, not only once, but millions of times, like a Ferris wheel going up and down, higher planets, lower planets, middle planets, up and down like that. And this is one out of an endless chain of incarnations that we have, in endless chains of lives. And all this is, conducted by the super soul, so that Bhakta Oscar, he gets this exact body and this exact incarnation because of his exact previous activities. Bhakta Oscar has no idea what he did in his previous life. Do you? No. But Super Soul knows what he did in his previous life, and Super Soul, according to the exact actions and the exact mentality that Bhakta Oscar developed in his latest incarnation, he gets the body of Bhakta Oscar. And that is one of many, many bodies. And it's all being or Bhakta Vona, for that matter. It's the same thing with you, and you, and everybody. We have this body because of our previous actions. And we should not be so much hung up in this body. I'm a man. I hate all women. I'm a woman. I hate all men. This is Maya. Because if we engage ourselves in the duality of this material world, we get hooked up in it. And we forget, that everything is united by the Super Soul. Super Soul is uniting everything. There is no conflict between anything. If you see it from the sense of the Super Soul, there is no conflict. All the conflicts that we are engaging in is also arranged by the Super Soul, and they're all illusory. So the real thing in this human form of life, apart from plant and animal bodies, is that we can know all these things. In a dog's body, you cannot know these things. And in the body of the plant standing behind Madhava Shrine over there, doesn't know anything about what's going on here. It has consciousness, a small kind of consciousness. It knows it's supposed to, climb around something and, follow some, and it can feel a little bit, it can see a little bit, or maybe feel a little bit of pain. And maybe it will be benefited by the vibration of the Bhagavad Gita being spoken here, but immediate understanding in that kind of body is not possible, like the understanding that, for example, Bhakta Oscar can have in his body, because it's a human body, or Bhakta Una. These are human bodies, and we are lucky to have this human body in specific this point in time. If you imagine 8.4 million species of life going up and down like in a Ferris wheel in incarnations through the ages, through the millennia, through the millions and billions of years, and now we have a human body And what are we doing? I hate this, I hate him, I hate her, I hate... And instead of, engaging in so many polemic things, and then we should just use this one life, this human life, with our human intelligence to understand Bhagavad Gita. This is our only business. All other businesses are basically illusory. To understand how we are acting, how our actions are, controlled by higher authorities, and how we, by our desires, should desire to act in a different way, so that those higher authorities, so that we can act directly on behalf of the higher authority. That is called bhakti. There is no way we can escape God. You try to escape God, how can you do that? Everything is God's energy. God is there in every atom. Even if you go to, Amma, God is still there. God is even on Christiania, He's even there in every atom, believe it or not. And even in Nordvestkvarter, He's also there. Or in Tingbjerg, He's also there. Or in Mjölnerparken, He's also there. In every atom, you cannot escape God. He's there even in Poland. In every atom, even on the moon. If you go to Mars, He will be there in every atom too. So there's no, so that's, you're all laughing, but this means that you're surrendering. Because you understand, yes, it's true. You have to surrender. Yes, I cannot escape from you. Why not just surrender to you? Because I have to do that anyway, even I surrender to you, I bow down to you now, or you will bow down at death. I will not bow down to anyone. I will never die. Yeah, you will never die, but your body will die. And the problem is you think you are the body, and that will die. Yeah. So it's true that you will never die. That sentiment is true, but the body will die. So let's identify not with the body, with the soul, who will never die. And the soul is not a man, it's not a woman, it's not a dog, it's not a plant, it's just a spark of consciousness that belongs to Krishna. So we should understand how that spark belongs to Krishna, and how that spark, again, can come to the point of loving Krishna. Because we want to love somebody, that's very natural. That is actually the deepest desire of everybody, to want to love somebody and to have that love, reciprocated and answered. And we do that first we try human beings, first we try to love our parents, well, that didn't really work. Try to love a man or a woman, that worked for some time, and then that doesn't work. Then we try to love a dog or a bird, and then eventually everybody just dies on us, Eventually everybody just dies on us. So you can't win. Even if you can have a nice relationship, which of course is good, you have a good relationship even on a material plane, and it's more peaceful to perform Krishna consciousness, but even so, everybody will just die. And there are no eternal relationships, and there's no loving you forever in this material world. It doesn't exist. As Prabhupada used to say, love is for Krishna. What we think is love in this material world is usually just the fulfillment of sexual desires, to be quite honest. That is what we usually call love. And, some sentimental idea about some, nice house on the countryside, to see the sunset go down while you're drinking some wine and washing the lake, But this is, you may call this love and harmony, but it's all going to disappear, because that's the nature of this world. Such things do exist in the spiritual world. This forever after, the sunset, the romantic, that all exists in a uncontaminated state in the spiritual world. But that uncontaminated state means that it's all being done by the individual souls for the pleasure of Krishna. And the contaminated state means that we're all doing all these things, a little bit for Krishna, and a little bit also for me, of course. And, we have to keep a little bit for ourselves. But that keeping a little bit for ourselves means that we will not surrender to Krishna, and that little bit for ourselves will remain illusion, something which does not exist. So the recommendation is that you study Bhagavad Gita properly and understand, okay, this is what we have to do, and then do it. And do it as much as possible. At least have an intention to try to do it, or at least sympathize with those who do it, even one is not able to do it oneself. So if you do it, You try to do it, or you sympathize with it, or at least you think it's not wrong. All these things are good. Of course, the first one is the best, but in any case. So, this verse teaches us to understand that the Super Soul is everywhere, giving us forgetfulness, intelligence, and knowledge. So, if we understand these things, that this very simple thing, that God, by His expansion, is present in every atom, in every heart, in every aspect of the material world, then we can just see Krishna everywhere. You know? In one sense, everything is Krishna, but that, of course, is dangerous. I fell in love with this woman, I think she's Krishna. But that can be a little bit dangerous philosophy if you're not, very mature. But in one sense, everything is Krishna, because if you go into the depth of every atom, you will find Krishna. So in the depth of every atom, even in the material world, the most innermost thing you will find is Krishna. So in that sense, everything is Krishna, or at least Krishna's energy. So by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, and by associating with devotees, and by serving the deities, by being and visiting the temple, by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and by reading these books, then everything will become extremely perfect, and one's life will become very, very happy. Even you are not a member of the Hare Krishna movement in an active sense, or just coming here on Sundays. But that understanding of God's all-pervasiveness, everybody can have it. It's just a question, as Prabhupada says in the beginning of the Bhagavad, you may do all these difficult things, yoga, jnana, and so forth, but you can also, as an alternative to this, just put your faith in the words of the pure devotee, listen to the pure devotee, and just take it in. That is as effective. But it requires this little technique which is called submissive oral reception. Usually when we hear things in this material world, we are told you should listen very critically. You should not believe in what you hear, and you should always be skeptical. That is very good maybe in the beginning, but it's the opposite. When you actually find a pure devotee and put your trust in him, then you should not be skeptical anymore. Then you have to put that away and listen with a humble heart. And let the words go right in, because otherwise the purification will not act. So this is the method, submissive oral reception. And that should be applied when reading these books. When we read these books, you can read them loud or read them within your mind, but this listening with the depth, from the depth of your heart, as if you don't know anything, that is very good. Listen to the pure devotee. As far as I know, there will also be a question and answer session later on, right? 6 o'clock. But I will anyway stop here, because I have nothing much to say anyway. And are there any questions? Yes.
Thank you for the lecture.
Thank you for listening so patiently.
I would like to clarify some things, because I feel a little bit confused.
Yeah, me too. So maybe we should clarify some things.
Okay, different people are on different levels. So we can read from Bhagavad Gita that the best is just to surrender to Krishna and to love him, but not everyone on that level.
No, it's described there.
So what do you recommend? Should one artificially try to be a sannyasi, or maybe?
No, I'm not artificially trying to be a sannyasi, but from whatever place you are, you can always listen. Listening is not difficult. So sometimes this we are on a different level becomes an excuse for not doing anything. But anybody can read. All I ask is to read the books, that's all. And that everybody can do. Yeah. But it's of course true that we are all on different levels. Some of us have been initiated, for many, many years, and are more used to this knowledge, and some of us are a little new. But we should, at what level of engagement one wants to be, that's an individual thing that can be discussed, with the words and so forth. But my point is that wherever you are, you can always, study this. You can always try and study Bhagavad Gita, and that is, I think there's no excuse not for not studying Bhagavad Gita. If you can't read, that's another thing, but then I would suggest to learn to read.
But don't you think also...
I mean, sometimes we are making this process more difficult than it needs to be. That's my point. And we're thinking, I'm so fallen, I cannot do anything, and then somebody comes, oh, you're so fallen, of course you cannot do anything, but you know. and like, bekräftelsen and confirming their own, you know. But why should we do that? Just anybody with half a brain, as somebody used to say, can read a book and then, but first of all, read the books to understand what's in them, and then take a stand, then decide. Because it's also good to just chant Hare Krishna and just chant Hare Krishna, but the point is, as Prabhupada says, you have to chant Hare Krishna under the direction of a pure devotee, not just chant it. And that direction is in the books. So two things are needed, reading the books and chanting the Maha Mantra. And then when you've done that for a while, then you can see, you know, on what level you want to be. Right? Yeah.
You say what level we want to be,
Yeah.
but
It's all a question of desire, because if you want to go to the highest level, you can do that. If you want to.
but we are also limited by our desires. I think so. Not I do, but so.
But that's something that you do.
Yeah.
That's your own choice to have those desires. You cannot use your free will and turn that into something Krishna has done to you and make that an excuse for not surrendering to Krishna. That's my point.
Yeah. But on the mental platform we can have the speculation, I want to.
Yeah.
But if we actually don't want to, it won't work out no matter what.
No, but a thought is just a thought. You have to do it.
Yeah.
You see, I want to, that's just a thought. Why just do it? Why not just do it instead? The only thing we're asking is you read the books, but you have to apply this technique. And that's the crucial point when we reach the Prabhupada's books, to apply that technique that he requires us to do. But we sometimes forget. It's called submissive oral reception. It's just a question of opening your heart, and everybody can do that and become very quickly purified. But we have to learn the technique. And then when we apply the technique to the pure devotee, to the message of the pure devotee, very, very quickly we will understand, yes, I'm on this level, or I want to do this, and then automatically, you know, you can see what's what. But if we get to hear from the pure devotee, then everything will become chaotic. It's a very important aspect of Krishna consciousness, to receive that education through the parampara. It's not just a question of chanting Hare Krishna. It has to be done in the proper frame of mind. Yes. Anything else? We'll go on until another 15 minutes, and then there's the arti. Yes.
How can we apply this? How do we reach that stage where we can actually listen?
By doing the 5 things I told you. The 5 essential things of devotional service. You associate with devotees, chant Hare Krishna, worship the deity, read the Bhagavad, chant Hare.
You said that.
Live in a holy
Live in a holy place. Together means together with devotees, or living in a holy place together with devotees. If you try those 5 things, then you gradually do it. But you have to understand that the first thing is to learn how to hear. If that one thing is not properly applied, the rest will not follow. The Prabhupada says that many times. If the act of Shravan is not properly done, then the rest will not work. So first you have to you just surrender your hearing to the pure devotee. Well, it's a dangerous thing to do. He might influence you. He might tell you things that you didn't want to do, but you have to surrender your heart when you listen. And then the purification is very, very strong. That's the first thing, the Shravan. Yeah.
You say that a soul never dies.
Yeah.
Can a soul get more small depending on what a person...
You can't say that the soul can get smaller and bigger. There are such concepts in the Vedic literature as a great soul, Maha Atma, you know. That means a big soul. So that means a soul who is more enlightened. You will see more light. That soul is shining clearer because his consciousness is more manifest, is more outdated, how do you say, unveiled or revealed.